You can walk through almost any American town in the year 1910. Now, I'm not saying you could have done it. I'm saying you can do it right now, like right now. You can see every building that was there, every house, every store, every church. What were the buildings made of? How big were they? What was inside these buildings? You can see your great-grandfather's house, the well that was in his yard. You could see the outhouse that was out back, the store that was next door. You can do this for 12,000 towns in the United States, but nobody really talks about it. When you look at this map today, there are literally more than 2,000 neighborhoods that are just gone. They're blown off the map. Highways, there are highways now, parking lots. You don't see what was there, but actually you can see what was there. And I'm going to take you through it right now. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where we talk about American identity and family stories. And one of my mantras, I guess for a better word, on the channel is to be a good ancestor. And I think part of being a good ancestor is kind of understanding where your family came from. I'm going to tell you how you do that in a way that is probably pretty shocking. Before we do that, if you're not with me on Patreon, come on over. You can direct message me. We can chat. I put stuff up there that I don't put on YouTube. Patreon.com/NYTN. Or you can send me a coffee, which sounds harder than it really is. Just going to coffee.com/NYTN13. So today I'm going to take you back to Campty, Louisiana, where my great-grandma grew up until she was 10 years old. I'm going to show you how this is possible and talk with you about what happened and why everything has disappeared. So let's get into it. We're going to go back in time. So come on back with me. America has a problem. Cities are burning down. Not occasionally though, like constantly. Cities are just burning to the ground. 1866, Portland, Maine, half the city destroyed by fire. Chicago, on October 8th, 1871, a barn sets on fire on the south side of the city, and within 2 days, 4 square miles of the city are just ashes, just burned to the ground. Over 17,000 buildings are gone, 300 people are dead, and there's over 100,000 people that are homeless from just insane fire damage. 1 year later, Boston, November 9th, 1872. A fire starts in a warehouse. The downtown gets leveled, 776 buildings destroyed. Seattle, June 6th, 1889. A glue pot boils over in a cabinet shop. 25 blocks burned down. This keeps happening over and over and over again. And it's not just big cities, small cities too. Wooden buildings, are packed close together, and they're using oil lamps and candles to light, and wood stoves to keep warm. So you have one spark and the whole block is gone. Insurance companies are hemorrhaging money. They cannot keep paying claims for fires that they didn't see coming. They need a way to predict risk. They need to know which buildings are more likely to set on fire so they can know how much to charge for insurance. But how could they do this? You can't just guess, right? You need data. But you need really specific data. You need to know what's the building made of. How close are these to other buildings? What's inside? How close is the nearest water source? But you need to do this for every building and every town in America. Well, that would be impossible in the 1800s and 1900s, right? Except one guy figures out how to do it. His name is Daniel Alfred Sanborn. He's a surveyor working in Massachusetts. And in 1866, he gets a brilliant idea. What if you could map risk? Not just the streets or city blocks, but every building and everything that would affect whether a building would light on fire. So Sanborn pitches an idea to the insurance company. He says, if you pay me, I'm going to give you detailed maps of every building in your coverage area. You'll know exactly what you are insuring. Well, the insurance companies are desperate. They say, yes, take our money. Because if they can assess risk accurately, they can set the rates accurately. They can maybe charge more for risky buildings that are made totally of wood and less for safe ones. They can stop losing so much money on these fires. So Sanborn Map Company hires surveyors. Lots of surveyors. And they send them everywhere. New York, Boston, Chicago, but also to Campty, Louisiana. Because insurance is insurance, and so it doesn't matter if it's a city or a town. If people live there, buildings can set on fire, and insurance companies can have to pay out money. Always follow the money, right? But the surveyors get special instructions. And the instructions are you need to measure everything. The building dimensions, how many stories, what's it made of, what's inside, what's next to it. Is there a well? Is there a hydrant? How wide are the streets? And don't just do it once. Come back every 5 to 10 years and do it again, because new buildings are coming up, things change. They need current information. So that's what they do for 100 years. So starting in 1867, Sanborn and his company fan out across America and they just start mapping. By 1900, they have covered 11,000 towns and cities. By 1950, they're still going. 700,000 maps, 12,000 locations. Updated, updated, updated. And so now insurance companies can figure out what's going to set on fire. But what they created accidentally was something completely different. We're going to go to the Library of Congress website. I'm going to show you how to use the Sanborn maps to walk the streets where your ancestors lived. So I'm going to jump over there. So I know primary sources get me in all kinds of trouble with folks. They do not like it. But again, we're on the Library of Congress, so loc.gov. And I will put a link to this in the description for you guys. But if you're not able to do it, you're watching on TV or whatever, just type in Sanborn fire insurance maps. I'm going to actually do it for you guys so we can. So if we do that, you can go to the Sanborn Maps collection. And they have some stuff that's just here, but actually you can search through it. And it's incredible. Like when I found out about this, I wanted to scream. So they have keys and colors, and we don't need to go through all of this on here, but it'll basically tell you like what your building was made of. Was it made of adobe, stone, like brick, all kinds of interesting stuff. So we'll come back to that. I want to actually show you the one from Campty, Louisiana. And this is from 1921, so this is right around the time my family was living there. And as you can see, it says it was surveyed by the Louisiana Fire Prevention Bureau. So Sanborn had all kinds of people doing this surveying. And at the time, we see Sanborn Map Company, it says the population was 700, tells you what the wind was like the day they did it. And this is absolutely incredible. So we're gonna zoom in. We're gonna kind of chat about it. And I have been to Campty a few times to go to a family cemetery. But if you zoom in, I mean, you're literally able to see what was happening in 1920s. And there are some buildings that are still there. So I actually went to, let's scroll down here, this building. So here you see it's on the corner here. It says Front Street. This is bank offices, attic space. It tells you what the building was used for, which is super interesting to see those changes over time. But also says here that it had a concrete floor. Okay, and you can see the measurements there. You can see, okay, it was across from this general warehouse over here, a general store. And you can see who is next to it. There was a barber shop right here. There was a telephone exchange and drugstore right here. There's post office down the street. There's a mercantile, and you do want to use the key to tell you what these buildings are made of. I think yellow might be wood. I'll have to go back and look. Over here, if you're familiar with Louisiana at all, or any of my videos, the Cloutier, I used to say it was Cloutier or Cloutier, but it's Cloutier is how they say it down there. Hotel is here, and they're saying this is kind of a risk. It has a wood floor with a kitchen. So this building would need to be insured at a higher rate. Also says it has these Coleman individual gasoline lamps. This is an incredible amount of detailed information to have. I think it's so crazy. And I'm going to jump to some big cities too, but I just wanted to show you this. I was so excited. This garage and repair shop was there. This is like, my family was walking around in these streets. They saw these buildings. This had an earth floor, but it was ironclad. So this would be less of a fire risk. It also says no heat, had no lights, no chemicals. Basically, and they had some stuff stored in drums. So they're like, okay, this is less of a risk for you. So you can do this. Let's go to a bigger thing. Let's go to San Antonio, which I also had family in San Antonio at this time. And it's obviously a huge area. So you kind of have to go through where you think your family was. Let's just click one. Image 6, Bexar County. And so here, they're going to be telling you, here's the San Antonio River. Zoom in, and they'll tell you what was here. If you were looking for your family, what was it like for my family to live in the town. Who was next to them? Who was living next to them? What stores did they go to? Right here, there's a tailor that was at the corner of this street, right? And you can see the different colors, again, pointing out that different colors are different fire hazards. So you can literally see what was the building made of. And let's jump back over to, I'm just gonna open this up again so I can chat with you guys about those keys and the legend, so we can see what those are. So the legends here, so they're very specific again. This would be a brick building that has a frame side, a metal-clad building. Very specific stuff. Maybe special hazards about a building. I mean, literally, you're gonna get so much information. It's literally like having a Google Maps and being able to just walk on the street, because you can see so much detailing about it and who is there. There's also a lot of pages usually for each town, and I'm not gonna go through all of that with you. But here's all the information about how to use this source. And I think this is an incredible source. They tell you here, like D is for dwelling, so that means somebody lived there, DWG. F is for a flat or apartment. S is a store. SAL, saloon, which somebody is, or I would say like kind of obvious. I don't think I would know what this is. I don't know if you have ever watched The Office. I watched it a lot in college, and there's a part where Dwight spells his name Dwigged, and I don't know. If you know, you know. That's what that reminds me of. And they talk about the different stories, how tall was the building. So you could see, what barbershop do you think your great-grandpa went to? Like, when he was taking a walk or walking to a neighbor's house, like, what was he passing on his way there? This is amazing. I'm sorry, I hear my neighbors getting their yard mowed outside, so hopefully it's not too loud. So this is amazing. So we can go back. And so let me do another town. Let's see here. Man, I was so excited when I found out about this. It's just exciting because you think you know everything. Look at all the colors here. Santa Cruz County, Watsonville. I don't know what this is, but it looks pretty, so I wanted to click on it. And these maps are going to look super different. And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking I may want to print these out and maybe make some framed art for my office with these maps from places where my family's lived. Maybe I could even put that on my website for people. Let me know if that'd be something you'd be interested in buying, and just saying, like, I need this map, and I could professionally print it and send it, because I think this is just super cool. I'm obsessed with this. So again, they tell you the index, what you're gonna be finding. So if you're like, oh, I'm looking for Danish Lutheran Church, well, you can scroll up and you can find it 3. So you could find it, because they don't have all of the stuff written on here. So here's the church. And you say, well, what was next to the church? Maybe your family went to this church. What was next to the church that my great-grand went to? And you can figure that out with the key. This is amazing. So Sanborn Fire Insurance Maps. Okay, I'm gonna go back to full screen so we can chat. This is not abstract family history. Again, it's almost something tangible. Like, he walked here, he lived here, his outhouse was here behind his house. And the physical reality of daily life on these maps, I think, is just incredible. It's an incredible gift. And so the other thing, though, is that since these were updated every 5 to 10 years, you can, in real time, watch towns change, watch buildings appear and disappear. And you're watching history happen in real time. I would suggest probably even just printing these out to sit and look over them. I love digital. It's helpful to scan things quickly, but printing stuff out, like, nothing beats paper to me. I just love that. You can do this with any town with multiple map years and just kind of watch the evolution and see what gets built, see what gets taken down. We can even look at these maps and say, let's look before a big event happened, a big traumatic event happened, and after, and how the town changed. And fire and floods, though, aren't the only things that made neighborhoods disappear, right? Sometimes it was deliberate. Between 1950 and 1980, there was this push for urban renewal projects, and these destroyed over 2,000 neighborhoods in America. I think the official term was slum clearance. I might be wrong. The result was, you'd have highways through certain neighborhoods, stadiums going through poor neighborhoods, universities kind of plowing through neighborhoods, and sometimes families weren't given very much warning, very much time, and before the bulldozers came. And so in most cases, there's really not a lot of photographs or detailed records about that experience, but the Sanborn maps would be there, right? So before something happened, after, you can see the difference. The Sanborn fire insurance maps existed because of insurance companies wanting to save their rear ends. But what they created accidentally was an archive of American life, maybe of your family's story. Remember, 12,000 towns. I think there's over 700,000 maps with buildings, wells, outhouses, barbers, churches, updated constantly. And I still haven't spent as much time as I would like to kind of poring over the maps for my different families' ancestor locations. I think that's going to take a lot more detective work and color ink for my printer. But just seeing my family's world, seeing the physical layout of the town, where he might have worked or bought supplies for my great-grandfather, what the neighbors' houses looked like. I think this is really rare because there's not a lot of photographs that kind of captured just the mundane parts of living, but through insurance data, we have that. We have that. And I think especially for neighborhoods that don't exist anymore, these maps are often the only proof that they were there. Only way to see what was lost. So all the Sanborn maps are free on the Library of Congress website. You can search by city and year. I think if you have your ancestor's address, you can also search that from between 1880 to 1970, and there's a good chance you can find that building, even if it doesn't exist anymore. So let me know if you would like me to offer printed versions of this. I don't even know. I have to think this through. Let me know in the comments so I can gauge that. But otherwise, thank you so much for being with me here, and we'll talk soon.